Today on Locked On Rockies, getting in the holiday spirit by asking a hypothetical who on the Colorado Rockies would eat the most hot dogs, plus Brendan Rodgers, baseball in 2023. That's interesting.
You are Locked On Rockies, your daily Colorado Rockies podcast, part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
Rock on Rockies fans, welcome into the Locked On Rockies podcast for today, the 4th day of July in the year 2023. Happy 4th of July. Happy Independence Day to you U.S. Rockies fans out there. Happy 4th of July to the rest of y'all out there, maybe not celebrating today. I know we got some international Rockies fans out there listening. I see those numbers. Shout outs to you and all the everyday listeners and all of you Rockies fans out there. Thank you for making us your first listen of the day. This is, of course, the Locked On Rockies podcast, where we talk about Colorado Rockies baseball each and every day right here on the Locked On Podcast Network, where you can find your team every day. And if your team is the Colorado Rockies, you are in the right spot, because that's what we do around here, is talk about the Colorado Rockies each and every day. You can find us on your favorite streaming service. You can also find us on YouTube. You can also find us on the SiriusXM app and SiriusXM radio. Just search Locked On Rockies, and to get all your play-by-play action of the Colorado Rockies, just search Colorado Rockies. You can select the feed of your choice if you want to check out the opposing team's feed there and dive in for all your Rockies action. Fun fact, actually, I consume most of my Rockies baseball through listening to it. I watch as much as I can, obviously, but sometimes, especially being on the West Coast, it lines up much better for listening for a large portion of the game. I love listening to baseball. So I think baseball is the above and beyond the perfect radio sport. I think that the pageantry and everything behind it is always cool. I think the history of baseball on the radio also adds to it as well. The other sports are kind of a little hard to follow. I mean, you can not necessarily hockey and basketball. I especially struggle with more, but that's kind of obvious. Those games are a pace enough to watch in person anyway. So it's a holiday. It's fun. There was an off day yesterday, so I figured let's start the show off with something kind of out there, something ridiculous, and it's a completely hypothetical question. Which Colorado Rockies player would win a hot dog eating contest? Now, I think there's a lot of ways you can look at this, as Lux Ace in the live chat says, maybe Chris Bryant. I like where your head's at. I like the thought of it. Like, you kind of think Charlie Blackmon right off the bat. Maybe he seems like the type of guy that would do some, that might be into, being able to just pound hot dogs. I could see Chuck Nasty out there fishing for all day and just slamming hot dogs as part of it. But I don't know if I'm going him. I was thinking maybe, like, do you go catchers? Like when Jorge Alfaro was on the team, I think he might have a strong case, but are you just basing that off of just pure size? I mean, Elias Diaz can probably, I would say might be up there, but I feel like you got to find the right balance. You know what I'm saying? Because, like, I'm a thick guy myself, and I can't eat fast. I can't eat a lot of food. I can't. My skinnier, small friends put down far more food. I don't know. That's probably not the right way to say it. Anyway, so I'm kind of sitting here and I'm thinking, is it Ryan McMahon? He kind of, he's got that big and lean frame, very athletic. Burns a lot of calories on the field doing what he does every day. Because I'm going to say no to Ezekiel Tovar. I'm going to say CJ Cron's an interesting one. I think he could be CJ Cron. I could see being a guy that spent a lot of time at some fairs, just enjoying them. But it's all about the strategy too. So I wonder, actually, Kyle Freeland might be a good pick. Now that's a good, when you're thinking about the potential there. I think Kyle Freeland, got to manage the pitch clock. So he's working with the time of the hot dog eating contest, working with the time under pressure. I think he's got that Joey Chestnut like build, which I think as of right now, the men's hot dog eating contest was canceled, but it sounds like there might be a literal momentum swing brought on by Joey Chestnut himself to have the hot dog eating contest, a 4th of July staple there. That's why I actually thought of this topic today. So I guess if I'm really going to nail it down, I'm narrowing my list. I'm Ryan McMahon. I'm thinking Kyle Freeland. What about Profar or Doyle? What about the outfielders? I mean, we mentioned Chris Bryant. There's something about Chris Bryant doesn't make it seem to be that I don't know. I think Chris Bryant is like kind of the guy that you think would eat a lot of hot dogs, and then the contest would start, and you'd be a little disappointed in what happens. He's got a big repertoire. There's a lot of hype around him. He might have had some success in the past. But when it comes to, on this stage performing, in a Rockies uniform in a hot dog eating contest, I think Chris Bryant might end up being a little bit of a disappointment, at least what you can infer there. I'm going through the positions here. I'm trying to also go, you know what? There's got to be some bullpen guys. There's got to be some bullpen guys that can put down some hot dogs. That just seems like a very bullpen-like thing, right? You know what I mean? You might have just pitched. It's not Daniel Bard. Daniel Bard's not doing it. Pierce Johnson looks like he could down some dogs. Pierce Johnson could probably eat a good amount of hot dogs. Because the outfield, I'm not seeing it right now. I'm out of the normal starters. I think I'm leaning towards Rymack and Kyle Freeland, but now I'm going to throw Pierce Johnson in there. Nolan Jones, that's a good point. I think he could fit into that category. I think Montero could get in there too. I think him, but he could also fall into that thing too, where it's like, does he really want to the contest side? I did a pickle eating contest in college. And it was as soon as I took one bite, it completely changed the game, and it was a nightmare there. So I don't know. I think because Justin Lawrence does look like he can put down some hot dogs. It's all. I mean, this is a completely ludicrous and ridiculous segment to do, but I think if I'm going to make my pick. Yeah, I don't know about Montero either. I feel like I'm going to be missing someone. What about the second? Would maybe Harold Castro? I mean, what about the second baseman? What do we think the second base would lead? Maybe we go by position here, position group. If it was a position group of players that had to take down hot dogs, which position group is going to excel the most? Because then, that's interesting. That really is interesting. It's not first base. I'm not putting my money on first base. Second base could be it because it's also it's a technique thing, in the middle of the infield and corner base, in third base there. You got to have that defensive technique. You got to have that abilities. This is an interesting one. Ooh, Brendan Rodgers, I think would also be a good pick. I think he would. I think he might lead in that category. But maybe, I don't know. I mean, there could be guys like that. That's what I need. I need some hot dog themed content tonight to know who likes to do how many hot dogs. Do they actually get a lot of chances to eat hot dogs? Do you ever how much in the clubhouse do you think hot dogs are part of the menu? So I'm going to say it's pretty little. I'm going to say it's very little times, but there's got to be some dudes in that clubhouse that absolutely love hot dogs. I mean, I think actually out of all of them that have been there, hey, if someone using, I like Jorge Alfaro, I like Kyle Freeland, and I like Ryan McMahon. Those are my picks right now for it. Because I don't think there's any. I'm trying to think of maybe any other pitchers, but The Rockies have Dollar Dog Night. At least they used to. Did they not? Do they not do Dollar Dog Night anymore? That seems crazy. I bet you they have to have Dollar Dog Night. Anyway, it's a completely ridiculous, nonsensical, not based on really anything but totally guessing. Little fun holiday segment there. But I do want to talk about the potential return of Brendan Rodgers coming up here in segment number 2. So don't go anywhere, and check out all the people that help make this show possible. And that's our friends at FanDuel. Take your first swing at betting Major League Baseball on FanDuel and get 10 times your first bet amounts in bonus bets up to $200. That's right. Just bet $20 and you'll land $200 in bonus bets, win or lose. That's $200 you can spend betting everything from the money line to the over-under to who you think is going to hit the first home run. All on an app that's safe, secure, and super easy to use. Plus, when you win, you can get paid instantly. So make sure that you're going to FanDuel Sportsbook. No better place to bet on Major League Baseball than FanDuel, America's #1 sportsbook. Sign up today and visit FanDuel.com/lockedon and get to up to $200 in bonus bets. That's FanDuel.com/lockedon. FanDuel, official partner of Major League Baseball. This is the Locked On Rockies podcast for free and streaming on your favorite streaming service, bringing you your daily Colorado Rockies talk right here on the Locked On Podcast Network, where you can find your team every day. Want to shout out our everydayers out there. Thank you for making us your first listen of the day. And check us out on SiriusXM and the SiriusXM app. All you got to do, search Colorado Rockies for your play-by-play action. You can catch all the action between the Rockies and the Astros, or search Locked On Rockies and you'll find us here. The Rockies could potentially see Brendan Rodgers return to the field in the back half of the season. Things still seem kind of up in the air. I'm not going to go too much in the nitty-gritty of dates and everything that was said. Highly recommend you can go and read everything. But I think would be the best thing to come from a Brendan Rodgers return is just to see him get some at-bats in work before the season's over and start getting major league reps back from the injury. Brendan Rodgers coming back isn't going to save the season. It's not going to turn everything around. It's not going to miraculously make this offense an incredible powerhouse, but it does have the ability and the possibility of adding another threat and really enhancing the defense in the middle or in the infield. The Rockies infield being Brendan Rodgers, Ryan McMahon, and Ezekiel Tovar is potentially the foundation that the Rockies are looking forward to build on and create in. I mean, this is something that would be, when you're buying into Ryan McMahon and buying into if the Rockies are going to commit and stick with him, the defense is really the big star of the show here. And that's going to be exemplified, especially when you get even better when you add another Gold Glove on there. The Rockies are looking at three Gold Glove candidates, perennial Gold Glove candidates in their infield if they run with those three players. If Ryan McMahon can have a strong rest of 2023 at the dish, Ezekiel Tovar continues to thrive, and you get Brendan Rodgers back, you get to see what the infield really is capable and the potential of the infield, and that group getting to work together at the major league level in season, playing legit games, means a lot. It means the Rockies are not going to miss out on a complete year of Brendan Rodgers and figuring things out with him, especially in key points and at a point where you really have to start deciding who is the foundation, who is sticking around, and who is expendable at this point. That includes your Monteros. That includes your Alan Trejos. That includes people that are young, the quote-unquote young guys, or some prospects or some guys that go up and down. You really need to start making a decision on who are you going to plan on being in the Rockies for the next competitive window. And it's really not that crazy to say that the Rockies having a 3 Gold Glove infield is going to help them get better and be a better team. On top of the fact that Brendan Rodgers can add some more offense to this team. We saw the struggles of Rodgers at the beginning of the year, but then we saw the change and the improvement throughout the rest of the season, turning into a really solid performance there, especially the fact if you can just wipe away the first month of the season, the numbers only really go up. 266 batting average, 325 OBP, a slugging percentage of 408, and an OPS of 733. In that time, 13 home runs, drives in 63 runs, walks 46 times. Triple digits in the strikeouts. Unfortunately, that's kind of a curse for the Rockies, but 30 doubles, something the Rockies could desperately use a lot of, and that OBP threat from Rodgers is there. Brendan Rodgers just makes your team that much better. The why we were so hyped up about Brendan Rodgers in the offseason, it hasn't really gone away. It just adds to kind of the disappointment of this season, because the moment is coming for Brendan Rodgers to become the star of this team, especially if KB continues to fizzle. Charlie Blackmon's future is up in the air. Ryan McMahon just doesn't. I mean, he can, but I think Brendan Rodgers has just a little bit more sauce, a little bit more flair, and a little bit more that kind of will embody that face of the franchise type of guy, backed up by the fact that the Rockies are already a team that can turn a ton of double plays, and a team that outside of the beginning of the year have played much better defense and have a wave of other really interesting things to come. If the Rockies build a foundation of strong defense and can adjust and get better production from those defensive players, and Rodgers and McMahon fall into these category. I know Rodgers has the offense. McMahon's been better and the streakiness of the offense, but this also counts for Brent and Doyle. I mean, the Rockies are putting good defense at the right positions to really help at Coors Field. So now the answer is, can these players especially provide the offense and the thump to bounce back and really start making Coors Field the threat it was like in 17 and 18, where the Rockies had Arenado, Story, DJ LeMahieu playing in the infield, playing high-quality defense, and also contributing on offense, making it so it was harder for players or teams to come into Coors and do damage. And then the Rockies were nothing but comfortable playing at Coors and could do their damage. So that is, I think, when you're looking at the foundation and when you're looking at the potential return of Rodgers, you can kind of see that does have a potential for success if these players can continue to produce on offense. McMahon probably being the one with the most, with the biggest question mark right there. So I would love to see Rodgers. If Rodgers, I think Luxay says coming back in late July, he heard. Like I said, I don't know, and with injuries, you never know. If the Rockies can get 2 months of Brendan Rodgers, if the Rockies can get 30 games of Brendan Rodgers, I mean, that's really good. That's at least it adds. You know what the season isn't a 100% loss. We can at least see a 30-game sample size of what this Rockies team is capable of with those three players on the field at the same time. And then that allows you to evaluate again. It's maybe not the best thing, but you feel a lot better maybe when you're evaluating your trade options or building around these players if you can see them all on the field together, especially on the field together consistently. Yes, we've seen McMahon and Rodgers share a field before, but I'm talking about the foundational pieces of putting them there and really saying we're bought in. We fully believe that these key, because you can't make any, there's no way around it. Those three players are critical to the Rockies because on both sides of the ball, they all three of those players, McMahon, Rodgers, and Tovar, are critical to the Rockies' success right now, especially when it comes to elite potential defense and elite defensive capabilities that all three of those players have in their tool belts. So Brendan Rodgers coming back for the Rockies this year would be huge in terms of you're figuring out your philosophy, your future, and where you want to go. On top of the fact that we get to watch Brendan Rodgers play some ball, and we know what he can do, and we know how exciting a guy he can be. So it is really exciting to sit there and think again. The Rockies have recreated a moment where they might have three Gold Glovers in their infield, at least three players with arguments enough to justify being in the conversation for Gold Glove, and for the Rockies to continue their history of being a really strong infield defending team that can turn a lot of double plays. The Rockies pitchers that pitch to contact get better because of the Rockies having those defensive options as well. So Rodgers getting back it would be a big win, but it should not come rushed at all. Brendan Rodgers should be given ample time to ramp up in the necessary way. There's no reason to rush him back. There's no reason to overwork him and risk further damage or setbacks in a season that's basically already lost. The Rockies do play baseball against the team today, and we haven't talked much about it because it's a quick set, and it's a team that we don't see all that often. And I'm hoping to set up a crossover actually with Locked On Astros so we can really dive in more. But I think this is a really big moment in the Houston Astros season here, especially coming up against the Rockies. Let's talk about that coming up in segment number 3. This is the Locked On Rockies podcast. I want to thank you for making us your first listen of the day. We are free and streaming on your favorite streaming service, bringing you your daily Colorado Rockies talk. Hey, subscribe to the Locked On Rockies YouTube channel. Be part of the show, just like Lux Ace. He's been dropping his live chat all show long. This is absolutely something that you can be a part of. Be part of the show. It helps the show. And it is the best way to help Locked On Rockies is to subscribe to the channel here. And folks, the Rockies take on the Houston Astros today. And I think this is a big moment here for the Astros. The Astros this is an opportunity again for the Rockies to play a little bit of spoiler, something they find themselves doing a lot of throughout the course of the season. But this is an Astros team that is not leading their division. It's an Astros team that's currently in a wild card fight, and it's an Astros team that's really looking to kind of kickstart and get some momentum to go in and have a strong second half. They haven't been able to be the dominant team that I think a lot of people expected and thought that they still were. There's, again, second half of the season is a completely different thing, and they can completely ramp it up. But if Houston falls flat against the Rockies here, they fall further behind, and then they have and if they fall flat against the Mariners coming up, the two momentum of those teams' 2 seasons could absolutely flip. The Mariners just won a series against Tampa Bay, one of the best teams in baseball, and if they could pull off a situation where they beat their rival on the road, Houston is going to at least start to be feeling like a little bit of they're a little bit in trouble. At least that they're going to have to reevaluate and retool things. And it's kind of crazy to say that about the Astros, given the fact that they're successful. They've been a good baseball team, and they're 47-38. They're still 9 games above 500. But these are the key moments. This is when you look back at these type of series for for Houston. This is the type of stuff you're going to look back to if Houston is fighting for a wild card spot instead of a division lead at the end of the season. This is where for the Rockies, this is where the Rockies get an opportunity to kind of get in the mindset of significant baseball, important games with significance, and get kind of that experience. Now, it's really not going to happen because it's a 2-game set on the 4th of July in the middle of July, and the whole second half of the season is still yet to be played, or technically underway, I know. But my point is, good teams beat like we've said, and the big difference makers between the teams that I think really have a chance this season and a chance to go all the way and do the damage is the team that takes care of the little guys, is the team that doesn't lose to the team like the Rockies. Atlanta does the damage, comes in, and look at a team like Cincinnati, I guess, if you want to look and say that they're for real, when they have opportunities, they take advantage of them. And this is a moment for Houston. If you're a Houston fan, if you're the Astros, you're looking at this Rockies team, you're looking at what some of the losses that this Rockies team just had at home. You're going on the road. The Rockies got to go on the road. This is a moment for Houston really trying to latch on and dominate and start. They're looking to start something here. So the big thing for the Rockies is they got to come out led by Kyle Freeland, and they got to steal this first game. Steal this first game, and it changes everything. It's not the biggest deal, But if you want a chance to really kind of wreak havoc and you want to mess up and have ripple effects, at least in the league, and change things up, maybe not in the standings for yourself, but for the other teams, is you got to go on the road and beat these teams. The best sign for the Rockies, and this can go back to Rodgers as well, is when the Rockies can go on the road and beat teams and beat good teams. I mean, we've saw some life and we saw some good things in this homestand, but we've also saw the worst and some of the complete flaws of this Rockies team on display. And now they're going on the road. It's a tough stretch for the Rockies. Let's see if they can handle it. But if Houston can't, they're going to have some problems. I like the lineup today too. And first pitch is actually just a couple hours away. So we're going to get ready for that. And we'll be breaking it all down here on Locked On Rockies, where you can subscribe, be part of the show, just like Luck says. And so many more are. Thank you so much for making us your first listen of the day. Thank you for hanging out with us here on another episode of the Locked On Rockies podcast. You can go make Locked On Buffs, Locked On Nuggets, Locked On Avalanche, and Locked On Broncos your second listen of the day. You can find us on your favorite streaming service and on SiriusXM and the SiriusXM app. Subscribe to the Locked On Rockies YouTube channel to help this show grow. And folks, until next time, this is Paul Holden saying so long from the Locked On Rockies podcast.